Thanks for asking.
I remembered at the last one we kind of talked about it.
I didn't even remember you bringing it up. You did.
I was really shocked that.
It's been crazy with them crazy and they're not having one to do.
Well, that's a good thing.
It is, yeah, it is. It's just.
And you didn't see crazy. You're crazy around.
I know, it's been a good summer. Hopefully that's a good sign for the fall.
Football season's coming. You love watching football and
Yeah, it's been.
Well, some of
Crazy.
the state.
Is it Google Plus and LinkedIn?
Huh?
Google Plus and LinkedIn, the last one, right?
What?
The last class.
Yes. I'm sorry. You have to be more specific.
She's just fitting this. So we'll have it back there.
Yeah, we had nothing but football going on in our house. This is the SEC network, you know.
Oh, I know it. Everybody's been on that.
Thank goodness we have another TV.
Have another TV.
I like it. Watching news and that. That's what. I just was in Montgomery last Thursday.
Hey, how are you?
I'm just there.
Jessica. Just to see it.
Yes, sir.
I don't think I'm gonna make it. I know.
You won one case.
I am.
I think everybody glued to it.
Yeah, you date still more than somebody else.
Yes.
I'm not dating.
Well, there's actually 3 of them.
Oh, yes, sir.
They're,
Thanks for coming.
Oh, we're so glad we could be here. So,
Where you guys
so,
from?
he's full-time.
Hill City.
What business is it?
Oh, laying down.
Oh,
Taking
We
over
did,
social media.
We just started doing some t-shirt, pageant.
He's not too
We'll
bad.
pray extra hard.
awesome. Thanks for coming.
Well, we're so excited. And I was hearing about another class you're gonna have.
The next series in the social series is going to be the third Wednesday of September, and it's on Google Plus and LinkedIn. Maybe a little bit of Pinterest too, really quick, but not too. We don't have a lot of content you can post very often, so, but it would be really good for you guys.
And what about Facebook?
We did the Facebook class last month, but it's actually online. You can watch the whole class with the presentation.
Okay, great.
Because all of them, we have a live webinar going on, but then we archive it and put it back on our webpage so you can view it at any time.
Oh, that's great. So you can go over it and over.
So I can look at myself mess up over and over again and stuff. No, I don't actually ever watch, I don't watch it. I don't want to watch it.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I don't ever like watch myself on video for anything. It's just like, you can't go back and change it.
Yeah,
So.
and it seems like I have this squeaky little voice and I'm like,
I'm like,
surely I don't have that squeaky little voice.
Yeah, I sound like an 11-year-old. I sound like
Like, no, surely not, that's not me.
It's like voicemail. It's like, I don't sound like that. There's no way I sound like that.
Well, we just found out about y'all, so we're happy to know you're here.
Yeah, well, we're happy to have you guys. This is what it's for, is to just kind of like help y'all get a grasp on what you can do and what not to do.
Yeah, what not to do, just important is what
Yeah,
to do.
it is, but I mean, Twitter can be such a great tool, especially like customer service and just interaction with, your target audience or anybody that you're trying to build a relationship with. But it can also be really scary, because it can get out of hand a little bit.
Yeah, that's where we're at. I'm really scared. We deal for anywhere from seventh graders on up to.
So they're definitely on Twitter and Instagram.
Yes. I'm like, they're everywhere I'm not, so I'm like,
Yes.
and they'll say, are you this and you that? I'm like, no, I'm just putting on Facebook. It's like.
Facebook is great, but there are a lot of rules on Facebook. I mean, there's just so much criteria and guidelines, and it's very easy to mess up and then like just.
Gone, all
Yeah,
that.
but Twitter doesn't have nearly the amount of rules. So then, on the other hand, it's like, oh, you have to monitor infringement. So.
That's even scarier.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Well, yeah, we just have Can you see my bun?
It is right.
Oh.
It was a horrible echo. It's the only way for me to test it in there. Can't mute the mic. Hey.
Hello.
Okay.
Now everyone knows.
Everybody knows.
You're welcome.
Be right back.
Yeah. We're uptown. Uptown, Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fine, and you, Michael?
Doing good.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right, good to see you too.
Hey, y'all can go ahead and get started. Fixing your plates, you guys will be done. When you start this class.
Oh, okay. Well, we thank you.
What are you having today? What are you having today?
Barbecue sandwiches.
Wow.
Chips and baked beans.
All right.
Good around in Jacksonville.
That is wonderful. That's better than that. Already done it, ready to go.
Yeah, ready to go. I'm gonna need somebody to eat.
Hey. I don't think I've bitten anybody in the past couple of months, so you're safe. Something gotta go.
That's right. Oh, man, yes. Jump in the top of the office here. I bet.
Is that good?
That is good. Big project.
You put like flour
The only thing we put was our barbecue sauce, which counts in with how it is.
Yeah.
Barbecue sauce, that's very interesting.
It has many different names, anywhere close in there. We'll take it.
It's not a lot. Could be.
Yeah. I have allergies.
It's bad. It's probably- I love them. having-
Yeah, I have it really supported and then it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay, I have oatmeal, super healthy.
Yeah, that would be, when we do put the salt in there, so.
I got this, we went to a digital marketing summit in Atlanta, and there's a company there, and one of their clients was socks rub. I don't know, socks, scrubs. It was just like a, that I put it in whenever I was touch beans and coffee. It doesn't have a seasoning. You don't have you back to that.
We do.
You did?
Yeah. Put a thing in there that.
Yeah. Is that the Santam gum? Yeah. I've been trying to make my own, like flour mixes, baking, so used to do a baker before, but, very complicated. Very complicated, and then if you don't use it, you just go trash it. Almost immediately.
It's hard to eat, hard to find anything that doesn't have that in it.
Yes, yes, it is. We just cook everything ourselves.
Yeah.
Barbecue's very good.
What time is it?
Do you just do catering or do you have a restaurant also?
Now, we got a little rib shack in Jacksonville.
Okay. Is it?
Where they sell good ribs and tasty butts.
That's right.
Now, all you need is Guy Fieri to come up there and do a spot on you, so like that little shack in, is it Louisiana? What is
Yeah.
it? They blew out those.
I wish we could have them up there.
How are you? Look, there weren't hardly any cars out there, and I thought, I'm gonna come up here on the wrong day.
You're right home.
Yeah, we're good Baptists, we sit on the back.
Are you much set for that?
Something I've been preparing.
Makes sense. Work and 25 days, huh? So, man,
It's got nice, very nice. Two, got two.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought you
Hey! Yeah, I know that. Thanks for sending this.
Hello, how are you? I'm Pam, this is my husband's name.
Pam, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
With me on the phone.
Yes, we're the late entries.
Maybe you talked me into the Dollar Shave Club last night.
Really? Do you love it?
Yes, sir.
Told you, Dollar Shave Club. It's awesome.
I never have. And I do it right here.
Next, you're gonna be doing Stitch Fix.
I already do Ipsy, and I was gonna do Birchbox, but
I love Birchbox, but I really like Stitch Fix. It's become my favorite. I got it sends you Okay, it's a $20 fee, and then they send you 5 garments or accessories, and like within your budget, based on your style profile. And then if you don't want any of it, it's $20. You just send it back for free. If you buy anything, that $20 goes towards whatever item you buy. If you buy all of it, you get the $20 credit and the 25% off of everything. It's really great.
Advertising this
Here, another one.
Oh, I just, yeah, I closed it. Sorry. Just hit refresh. Sorry. I clicked it and I was like, oh, she's probably got it open. So I tried to close it real fast. I've already made sure everybody has stopped streaming. So we'll see.
10 here, so we're waiting on like give them 5 minutes or so.
I used to email and text now that I'm out of county and I really don't get back out that way much, but y'all are definitely, well known, have a great reputation.
I think that was it though. Everything else is awesome.
Yeah, it does.
Oh my gosh, he's great. Yes, I am. Love his face. Okay.
Just started using around here. Or somewhere else.
Really 5 more? If you have any questions while we're talking or whatever, please feel free to raise your hand or just ask or whatever. Pretty laid back, kind of casual format, so don't feel like you're going to interrupt us or anything. We'll give them just a minute longer. We have a couple people that aren't quite here yet.
Did you get anything?
No, okay. I got some Diet Coke.
Does anybody need anything? I'll run and get napkins or whatever you might need. This is the meet the staff session. These for you.
Well, that's the order that we're going in, and then,
I'm just gonna pipe in if I ever feel the urge, as I often do. But you are the expert.
ish. You know, I was trying to think, there was this company I tweeted the other day, and they like immediately hit me back, and I can't remember who it was.
Would you like me to intro and let's go and get the ball rolling, or
Yeah.
wait another couple
Well,
minutes?
I was thinking just a minute, because there's 5 people up here.
We're just waiting on maybe 1 or 2 people.
No, there's 5 more that should be here, but they have 1 minute and we're starting. 'Cause I don't want to run late again like last time. Though I tried to make myself be more compact in the spirit of Twitter, since it is brief and to the point.
All sentences are 140 characters or less.
Yeah, you get real good at editing yourself.
There's actually a movement is much too grandiose, but there's a website and a signature you can put on your emails that you send out, and it says, "Why was this email so short?" And it's called 5sentences.com, and it's like, nobody wants to read 5-paragraph emails. Nobody should spend the time. Like, why are we spending all of this time putting together these crazy big emails when a phone call would do, or more pointed and thought out words would do? And so it's, and you can also like do 3 sentences, 4 sentences, 5sentences.com and point it out. But I thought that was interesting.
Sounds like my emails.
Yeah. And also a long time ago I read a funny thing. Kevin Rose, who owns whatever, dig.com, dig with 2 G's.com. It was a big news site there for a long time, and then Reddit kind of took over after Dig did whatever it did. And but he was quoted as saying, "I always reply to my emails, even if it's Outlook or my webmail, my signature always says sent from my iPhone, because nobody judges you when it's short and it's sent from your iPhone." I thought that's really smart.
That's genius.
Right? So
Which I know when we send David an email, I mean, he'll send us a long email and we have to read everything. We'll send him an email, telling him information, he'll call us and say, what's that email about?
Yeah.
He'll read the first line. He doesn't.
No, nobody reads.
I prefer email though.
I do too.
You know, that way I can go back and reference it, like phone calls. I just don't always, like, I'm on the car or something, I can't take notes, and then I won't remember it, and then it doesn't get done. So, yeah.
All right.
Do we have to have a Twitter account already set up?
For this class, no.
No.
You're going to learn how to tweet, and then I don't know that she's going to go through the process of setting one up, but setting one up is
Pretty simple.
very, very simple. And after the class is over, if you
I can show
want,
you.
we can show you them. So I'll just give a super quick intro. I'm Chris Williams. A lot of you have been here a few times. I think we're getting better at this, though we're not anymore on time. So whatever that says about it. Thanks for coming. We appreciate everybody here. These have been a lot of fun, and it's nothing like there's nothing like teaching to teach the teacher. You dig and you dig and you dig so that you make sure you're telling the right information the best way, and it really does us a world of good just to put these classes on. So thank you for coming. This is Twitter. Next time will be Google Plus and LinkedIn, and that's next month. And we'll send an announcement out about that. We'll post it and tweet it and everything else. And this is Katie. Katie is the Twitter guru, though my Twitter ID is much, much lower than hers because I was on in the first like 6 months, so I'm super hip. But I do not tweet anymore, so I'm a loser, though I still haven't. So she is most definitely the expert and the only person I know anywhere around here that I would trust to teach this class. So thanks for coming, and take it away.
Yeah, and just one really quick reminder, if you did come to all 3 classes, we are going to have a drawing for something awesome that we have yet to identify at the next class. So, you know, yay for that. And some of you have. So, tweet like a boss. I obviously have an odd sense of humor. If you have come to any of these classes, you would have realized that by now. So, but essentially, Twitter can be really complicated, and you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to say what I need to say in 140 characters? And people are just constantly talking to me. There's no way for me to hide this. I don't even need to be on here. But that's a major misconception, because Twitter can be one of the most powerful tools for a business, especially when you look at customer service or selling, answering questions, interacting. There's not nearly as many rules as there are on other social networks, so you really kind of have a lot more options as to how you want to present yourself. But you do have that 140 character rule, so that can get in the way a little bit, but you know, ultimately Twitter's a really great place for any business. And so let's start talking about headers and profile pictures. This is where we started with the Facebook class also, because this is the first place that anybody is going to see what you have going on. And you guys will have this little breakdown in case you're going to make some of your own graphics, and we'll send out the free tools also that we sent out last time that had where you could go and make your own graphics if you needed to. But you can kind of see it is a little bit different. It's a responsive web design, so it really changes quite a bit when you go from any type of desktop. Even if you were to pull your desktop window down, it's going to change pretty drastically. So one of the best rules of thumb is to just kind of try and stay somewhat photo oriented. Not worry so much about trying to sell something or make a point or put your website or a phone call or anything like that. To the point, direct. That's the best way to be on Twitter. Try and think, you know, keep it simple, stupid, kind of the KISS rule. I've attached a link under here that goes over, this is the actual Twitter blog, so it will tell you all of the rules, which are very, very short and to the point, but that way you can look at them if you'd like to reference. So let's go through a couple of really great profile and cover photos. Oreo did a great job here. I mean, really, if you were to look at the entire photo, it's just a graphic image of an Oreo cookie, but there's no way that you don't know what they're talking about the minute that you come here without it saying really much at all. Stitch Fix, this is a company that I really like. They send custom clothing based on a style profile to you at home. You try it on, send it back or keep it, whatnot. But they didn't say anything. All they did was show clothing, but right off the bat, you know that somehow they have something to do with clothing. So, point made, without being overly designed or complicated. They could have easily just walked into their product room and taken this shot and then uploaded it from their iPhone. So it doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to relate the message or whatever your brand is about. Next, you've got, I think this is actually United Airways? American Airlines. This is American Airlines. Okay, so here again, this could have very well been a picture that someone took out of the plane window, looking back. Not anything complicated, not anything that you have to stage something for, just really sweet, to the point, and very easily understood with a lot of negative space. But leaving it open like that kind of even makes the entire image more impactful. So again, very, very simple. This is the CIA. They've recently joined Twitter, and yeah, which you're going to see a really great tweet from them. They have had a couple of fails, but they have been pretty funny, actually. So it's been a good follow. But it's just a picture of their building. So again, identifiable, very simple, something that someone probably just walked outside and took with their phone, maybe a nicer camera, but nothing overly complicated, but yet still very effective. This is Naked Juices. I'm not sure if any of you guys like smoothies and stuff like that, but they make a lot of them, and it's nice and colorful. You understand what's going on. It's showcasing 4 new flavors that they've come out with. Very, very effective. Still pretty simple. Now, this one definitely took some sort of graphic kind of design behind it, but it still could be accomplished fairly simple with a lot of those tools that we sent you guys that we will be resending with this follow-up email as well. So from here, let's just kind of go into some of the rules and best practices. And down at the bottom, you see 2 links. One is to the Twitter blog that goes over that exact best practices. The other is to a really great blog post called The Fail Whale, and it gives a running list of the worst mistakes made on Twitter by companies. So it's a really great resource for you to go and kind of see, I should never do this, ever. But I'm going to run you through a lot of those situations, and I'm going to show you the fails, and then we're going to talk about a more successful way to do that specific tweet. So trending topics. I know even on Facebook now you'll see like, oh, Robin Williams died. That would be a trending topic. So maybe it's RIP Robin Williams or something hashtagged on Twitter. So you're thinking to yourself, all these people are tweeting about that. Maybe I should tweet about that somehow. And that would be great to say, hate that we lost him, you know, hashtag Robin Williams. Something appropriate, showing your condolences. The inappropriate way to do it is to try to sell something like Kenneth Cole, where millions are in uproar and hashtag Cairo. Rumor is they heard our new spring collection is now available online. Completely insensitive, never going to work. I mean, the backlash from this lasted months, years, whereas a simple, you know, really hate to see what's going on in Cairo, but you're never going to be able to capitalize on someone else's tragedy. Epicurious, another really massive fail. Boston, our hearts are with you. Here's a bowl of breakfast energy we could all use to start today. Nobody wants your cereal right now, and nobody wants to hear about your scones either. You know, what we do want to hear about is actual news coverage of what's going on, who did it, how did it happen. So again, a nice, our thoughts are with you, Boston, you know, anything else, but not an appropriate time to sell your product. Here's another great one, The Gap. All impacted by Sandy, stay safe. We'll be doing lots of Gap.com shopping today. Completely inappropriate. American Apparel also did the exact same thing, trying to capitalize on the victims of Hurricane Sandy, and it's never, ever, ever going to work. So even if it's trending, doesn't mean it's a good idea for you to try and use that. Don't ask, don't tell. We talked about this last time, asking questions that you don't actually want the answer to. So the first one that we're going to talk about is JP Morgan. They decided to have this really great question and answer session, hashtag AskJP. However, they got hacked fairly quickly, and it went to, does the sleeves wash off with your regular shower? Do you have to use something special like baby's tears? And this is just one snapshot of, this is pretty much the way that the entire thing went. They canceled the chat and then spent another year trying to rebrand their image. So it's really important when you start asking questions, think about what your company's current what are people saying about your company right now? Do you really want to open that door? Because once it's open, you cannot shut it. And if you try and shut it, that's even worse than opening it in the first place. Same thing down here. Hi, Bert. Which items of furniture do you, in your humble opinion, do you think people should burn first this winter? This is British Gas. They decided to have a question and answer session on Twitter the same day that they announced 11% raise on their rates. And they already were having a massive energy crisis, lots of seniors dying. It became really, really bad and nasty really, really fast. And so think about it. If you're having some sort of massive price, raise, maybe not have a question and answer session on Twitter on the same day, because people are going to use that. If you open it up and say, talk to me, they're going to talk to you. That's the #1 place that people go to complain is Twitter. But in the end, they just want to be heard. So think about a more creative way to maybe ask them these questions without opening it up to a forum with just tons of people complaining. Mickey D stories. This is almost a question and a hashtag fail in the same time, but they decided to run a campaign about you tell your Mick D stories. So this is just one nice little snapshot. Eating a 1/4 pounder value meal makes me feel the exact same as an hour of violent weeping. And it pretty much went from there. It talked about obesity, diabetes, just all of the different types of things found in their food. So if you don't want it answered, just don't ask it. Great rule of thumb there. Next, we're going to go over to timing. This kind of goes back to the what's trending and what's current, but a lot of times people use automation to where you already have stuff pre-planned, but you need to be very aware of what's going on currently and make sure that if you had something planned, it's not going to come out and be incredibly insensitive. American Rifleman, good morning, shooters. Happy Friday. Weekend plans? Seems harmless enough. However, it came out the same morning as the Aurora shootings in Colorado. So completely insensitive and major, major backlash. Same thing with this nice little clothes boutique. Aurora is trending, clearly about Kim K-inspired Aurora dress. However, no, it was actually about a shooting in a theater and lots of people died. But thanks for trying to sell me that dress that Kim Kardashian's wearing, because that really matters. That comes down to a research. That person should have seen, why is Aurora trending? What is actually going on outside of my tiny little bubble inside my store? So that becomes very important when you start looking at capitalizing on something that's happening or keeping your stuff current and having that automation. Make sure that you think about what's happening today, and is this going to come off insensitive? Is this going to come off and bite me? Or is this going to be successful? So make sure that you're watching and keeping up with what's happening. So let's go into some of these hashtag fails. Right now, we've got our thoughts and prayers are with the victims of this terrible tragedy, which sounds great. That was an appropriate way for them to respond to something that happened. However, having the hashtag Fab15Toys, completely inappropriate. So a lot of times this happens if you're sending out a lot of tweets, it'll come in and it'll put a tweet, like a hashtag that you've used a lot, right into the message. But you need to make sure that you're checking to see, like, is this appropriate? Should this be attached to this tweet? I'm sending out a condolence right now. I need to make sure that I don't have any of my promo stuff in here. And that just comes down to whoever that community manager was not on their game that day. So MasterCard decided to have a hashtag lovely campaign going out at the same time with an awards ceremony that they had decided to pay a lot of celebrities to use that hashtag to kind of help up that trending, and it got found out. So instead of them having this awesome priceless surprises, they ended up having a ton of people just pretty much giving it to them for bribing people to use their hashtag. So again, try and think full circle about how this could come back to get you. Now this seems harmless enough, however, Muslim rage is never going to be okay to use as a hashtag. Think about it standing on itself. That's just completely inappropriate. However, I mean, they wanted to talk about the cover, that's great, but let's just find a more appropriate way to use it. So really, really, really think out, how is this going to go outside of this little bubble that I'm in right now? Because not everybody gets what you're talking about. That was too close. Oh, well, it just skipped it completely. Well, the last one was essentially, who's not guilty about eating all the tasty treats they want at the same time as a major case came out not guilty? Not really appropriate. You know, again, don't try and steal somebody else's trending hashtag to sell your product. It's never going to work, ever. So, and then this last one is actually a really great job by the CIA. Here's the appropriate way to use this hashtag. No, we don't know where Tupac is. Twitterversary. That's great. You know, it's funny, it's relevant, and somehow it's not offending anyone. Maybe a couple of people, but, you know, who knows. So, like in this case, when we do these classes, we use hashtag WideNetU. That makes it really easy for us to go back and search anybody that talks about it, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on the web, anywhere, we can search that and find the people that are having the conversation. So that's a great example of a way to use it. Or the Fab 15 toys. That's a great hashtag. I'm sure it's very relevant, and it's exactly what they were pushing at the time, but attach it to a product sale, not to a condolence message. So hashtags can be very, very effective, and it's a great way, even sometimes, to just be completely silly, like hashtag like a boss, you know, but just make sure that it's appropriate and just make sure that it makes sense. That's probably the two biggest rules. So auto-responding. To me, this is one of the worst things that you can possibly do. I can't think of a single instance when it's appropriate to auto-respond. Even with a huge company that's open 24/7, then maybe you need to staff somebody 24/7 because it's always going to come back. Progressive was a perfect example. A guy wrote a blog about how Progressive paid for his sister's killer's defense in a case, and the guy tweeted about it. It got picked up, but instead of them trying to fix the situation and personally respond, you know, or even just whatever. I mean, radio silence probably would have been better than this, but instead they decided to use the exact same auto response to any person that tweeted about that for the entire day, which, instead of calming things down, just fueled the fire, and it did not go away for a very, very long time. Another example, excuse the bad word, but this guy decided to go to Twitter to talk about how much he hated American Air. But American Air auto-responded with, "Thanks for your support." And you can just imagine how well that went over. It took them a long time to get people to stop talking about, well, we're talking about it right now, so it's still not over. But you can kind of see auto-response is never really going to work out for you. Actually, if I get a direct message auto-respond after I follow someone, I almost immediately unfollow them because it just kind of shows me they probably don't know what they're doing, and I'm not going to get any kind of relevant information out of their Twitter feed. So.
And I'm going to jump in for the first time. Let her get a drink or something. So one of the big things when Twitter first came out, all these tools started being launched, and auto-responding was one of the biggest things out there to try to like build your follower count. The problem, on top of all the other auto-response problems that she's named, is each medium that we've taught about or are going to teach about has a best practice. It has a best use case, and with Twitter, it's a conversation. And an auto-response not only is not a conversation, it's not a legit response, but it genuinely says, I'm not really here. I don't really care what you're saying, and you're not being heard by a real person. So the best thing you can do is, if you're going to be on Twitter, be on Twitter. If you're going to be on Facebook, be on Facebook, or whatever the case may be. And do not do auto responses. And I don't actually know if you're going to go into this, but the cross-posting as well. Are you going to talk about that?
Yes.
Well, yeah, if you post to Facebook, it auto-posts to LinkedIn and Twitter and here and here and here all at the same time. Like, seems like a great idea. What a time saver. But it every single time will come off as a non-legit post. Everybody knows that that's what you did, and the people on that platform, especially Twitter, hate it when they see a fb.com link.
And Twitter's not very forgiving. Twitter users are very quick to tell you how they feel. However, they're very quick to recant and then become your biggest fan also. They just want to be heard. So they will call you out. It's kind of like your best friend. That dress looks terrible on you. You need to go change. You know, take it for what it is and decide whether it needs your attention or not. Next. All right. So this is a really important point because I have done this before myself. If you handle a business account and you have a personal Twitter account, check which account you're tweeting from before you tweet. Perfect example. Chrysler Auto is going for a huge meeting with, I think it was FedEx, who did not get that account. You know, make sure that when you're talking about something that you're not going to offend someone that you're about to go ask for a ton of money. There's a great one. This was supposed to go from a personal account, but it didn't. And by the time it got out there was no putting it back. This is actually my absolute favorite, though. American Red Cross. Ryan found 2 more 4-bottle packs of Dogfish Head Midas Touch beer. When we drink, we do it right, getting slizzard. Yeah, so I don't even know what to say. I mean, I know that now I use this hashtag all the time, so I appreciate that. However, you know, I mean, they apologized. The girl actually did not get fired in this case, which is shocking. But it does happen, but be aware. You know, make sure that you're posting from the correct account, and maybe you need a second phone. I don't know, you know, but just check before you tweet. Go and see which profile you're actually in, and switch out to your personal if you're going to do something racy or off color or funny or that just really isn't appropriate for your business. That's a pretty big rule there. But don't be a Twitter offender. It's really easy to be on Twitter and do it right. Like Chris was saying, one of the biggest pet peeves for me is that just laissez-faire attitude of I'm going to post it to Facebook and then just splatter it to all these other social networks. Each network is its individual platform, and it has its own rules and it has its own people that are there, and they expect you to follow those rules. So, you know, if you don't have time to post on Twitter, then just don't be on Twitter. If you don't have time to post on Facebook, then don't be on Facebook. But pick where your people are and hit hard and talk to them and have a conversation. If they reply to you, reply back. If they retweet, say thanks. You know, if they follow you, give them a heads up. Hey, thanks for the follow. I really appreciate that. Or don't. But either way, just make sure it's personal and it's a conversation before you do anything, because you will be called out for sure. So, do you have any other?
You're good.
All right. So I think from here we're going to go into Twitter analytics, which is actually really exciting because this is pretty new. It used to be if you did not pay for some sort of third-party app to use for automation and reporting, then you were not able to see what was going on in your Twitter account, and it was just kind of like some great mystery, or you had a calculator and an Excel sheet and you spent all your time figuring it out. So the first thing you have to do is sign up for an ad account. As soon as you do that, it doesn't mean that you have to start advertising, but it gets you into the Twitter analytics. So that way you're able to kind of see what's going on. You can see, I guess I'm going to have to come to the front now. Well, and then I'm see me. But you can see up here your tweets.
I'm on the screen if you want to walk around.
Okay, 3.3 impressions over the last 28 days. So that kind of gives you a breakdown of how many people actually saw this. Now, you have to remember with impressions, that's not unique viewers. A really good rule of thumb is to maybe say that 30% of those people were an individual. So that's kind of what I usually do to kind of get that idea of how many people actually saw this. And then you can kind of see what your frequency rate is. On Facebook, they're a lot better about that. They tell you how many times an individual person actually saw it. So you can kind of judge on yourself, like how many of those people were individuals. You've also got, it kind of shows you your engagement rate, which is a really good way to see, are you just talking or are you having a conversation? And that kind of comes down to, like, for you, for example, you need to be having a conversation with your people. You need to be answering questions. You need to be telling that, you know, giving them ideas and ways for them to come in and talk. Whereas we do kind of just give information. You know, we don't have as many conversations as we do just tell people things, because that's what they're looking to us for. Hey, what's the new Twitter layout? Or how do I write a blog? And 5 minutes or less, or things like that, or how can I optimize my website for SEO? So they might not want to talk to us about it, but they're probably going to read it. So we look more at link clicks. That's a really important thing for us. Who's clicking, who's reading, and what are they reading, and why are they reading it? You can look at, it's got a breakdown for each individual story, and you can see how many impressions it got, how much engagement was, like whether they clicked, whether they retweeted, whether they favorited, or they replied, and then what that engagement rate is. Which you don't have to look so much at the rate if that's not, the way that your brain works. I prefer ratios or percentages just because it gives me like a baseline, and then I can measure how much we grow. But either way, engagements is where you want to be. You want to see people that are coming. Oh no, too far. Okay. You want to see people coming in and clicking. And you want to see people going or retweeting or favoriting, that people are actually reading this stuff, that they're engaging to it, and that you're not just pushing out information forever, because it is a conversation. And while there are a lot of different ways to approach that conversation, depending on what your business is, ultimately you still want people talking. So keep that in mind. But this is exactly what it looks like when you come into your analytics. It's going to show you all of this, and then you can go by and see individual tweets and replies, or what your promoted tweets did, which is the advertising portion of it that we're about to go over. Right up here is a really, really easy way for you to export that data. Keep it in a file. It's going to give you demographics of what was the age range, where did they live, what kind of stuff do they like. And that can be really, really important when you come down to how do I figure out what to say. At the same time, you need to be looking at what time did I post this and how well did that go over. And that's a really great way for you to see, I should be posting more in the evening. I don't really have any engagement in the morning, so I need to stop wasting my time. You can also look at how many times am I posting and how much is not even being seen or being engaged with at all. Maybe I need to scale it back, or maybe I need to amp it up. So it gives you a really good idea of how to go about handling your Twitter campaigns. And a campaign is just like what you're going to do that month. Yes?
So it actually does give you the demographic information?
It will give you the demographic information. And you might.
It's really going to tell you who your customers are, right? If they're
exactly. It's more, do I need to repeat that? Could you hear the question?
I'm sure they can. This
Okay.
mic is ridiculous.
All right. It does, but it's more of like a generalized snapshot. Like instead of saying that Katie Cairo was your person, it would say that you had a 30 to 35-year-old female that was a mom that was worked light clothes and technology. So, and lived in Alabama. So, it kind of just gives you like this general characteristic of this person, but it still will help you know this is the way I need to speak to that person. Like if everybody is between 25 and 35, you probably need to have some humor. You might need to be a little bit off color, use some slang, be cool and hip. That's really cool and hip right there, But, talk to them the way that they want to be spoken to, and that's where this demographic information and this data becomes so important because it helps you tailor your message. And that's one of the easiest ways to be successful is to talk to who's already there. Yeah. So next, we're going to go into advertising on Twitter, and this goes into when you come into your Twitter account, you see right here you pop into analytics, and ads is right there. Click on it, you come to this place right here, and it says what type of campaign do you want to run. So a promoted tweet, that would be that just it's going to rotate whatever tweet that you have coming out at that time. It's going to push it up and suggest it to people. And one of the things that's really, really great about Twitter, and Facebook has gotten a lot better about this too, it's kind of native advertising. So there's not like popped out in this right sidebar like, hey, like WideNet, check out our tweet. It's just right there in the newsfeed with everybody else's stuff. So it doesn't, unless they see that little promoted tweet, they don't really necessarily know that this is actually advertising. So it's very effective. People see it, it's there, and they're going to probably like it. They're going to retweet it if it's valuable information. The next type would be a promoted campaign. So if you're new to Twitter or you don't really have, and this happens to everyone, your mom's liking it, your cousin's liking it, your next door neighbor's liking it, but not somebody that you want to sell to or that you want to potentially be your next client. So a promoted campaign can really kind of help you find those qualified leads. And I'm going to show you the different ways that you can really target specific places in just a second. And the last would be app installs or app engagements. So if you, let's say Quintard Mall, for an example, we're building them an app right now. So this would be a really effective way for them to try and get people to push over to their app and download it or engage on it. So that just kind of depends if whether you have an app or not. But I don't actually really go into that because I didn't think that anybody here had an app. So we're just going to talk about the first two. So here's our first campaign, WideNet followers August 14th. I want to build up our fan base. I don't think that we have the right connections, so let's figure out how we can get this. First, you're going to have to set how long you want it to run. I recommend that we normally do stuff for a month. It just kind of gives you time to really get in, get your feet wet, and see what actually happened. You can set whatever type of budget you want. That's further down at the bottom, which we'll go to in the next screenshot. But this is what's very, very important, is the targeting. You can target by interest and followers. So let's say for us, a really great place for us to maybe mimic our followers off of would be Rockfish, a really successful digital marketing firm in Atlanta. So that might be what I would put in was, I want interest and followers that mimic at Rockfish, or other digital marketing companies like Kapost. Or you can go to tailored audiences, and when I said export that data, you can go back to that and import it in, and it's going to find similar people to the people that you're trying to target anyway. So that can be really, really effective. It's going to tell you over here your estimated audience size when you start putting things in, and it will say this is too broad or this is too narrow. And that can help you say, I need to find more interest. I need to find other people that I can say, oh, followers like this person. You know, and you keep adding those things in until it says, hey, that's great. That's a great size. Let's go with that. You can see it over here. So like here I added at Rockfish. So it's going to find me people like that. And you come over here, well, now my estimated audience size is 10K versus 1K, but it's still too small to get any activity. So I would have to continue to add in my filters. So I can add in interest categories for an even broader. Are you interested in iPhones? We talk about iPhones a lot. Are you interested in CRM, which is a type of software that we're developing right now? So absolutely, we want you to come to our page and follow us, our profile, excuse me. Then you can even go set it by location. We have clients that run nationwide campaigns, and we have clients that run citywide campaigns. So that becomes very powerful. And who are you looking for? Where are they located? Let's target those exact people, because if you're trying to sell a house in Anniston, Alabama, you don't need to be talking to anybody in Colorado unless they're moving here. So.
And how many people are we trying to hit?
Well, it'll tell you if it's too broad or too narrow. If you're a realtor, right? Right. So for you, it might be better to do promoted tweets, because you might not be able to find a broad enough audience to do a promoted profile. So for you, a promoted tweet would be really effective, because you would probably build those followers off of that, and then you would be able to target by location, and that would be an effective campaign. So things like that. If you're in an area that you don't think that you're going to have that correct, then maybe you should look at an alternative mode of advertising. Instead of a promoted profile, go for promoted posts or tweets. Excuse me. So even here, you can limit targeting by gender. We had a back-to-school campaign where I targeted specifically moms in a 75-mile radius, for the tax-free weekend. That was very effective, because I was speaking to the exact people that wanted to hear what I had to say, and it was one of the best back-to-school weekends they've ever had. So really kind of just think about who are you talking to and why do you want to talk to them, and use these filters and this targeting that's available here. So this is the promoted post. You have all of the same filtering options at the bottom, but there's a couple of different ways that you can choose how you target, by keywords, interests, your tailored audiences using your own data, or television shows. We had a guy come in and he did a Breaking Bad webcast. So for him, of course, he's going to pick television show, and he wants to target every single person that likes Breaking Bad because they're definitely going to be interested in what he has to say. So again, it's very similar where you're choosing these ways to target very specific people. This has just got a couple more options for you. And it's still going to come over here and give you your targeting summary and let you know about how many people you're going to talk to. I do see one thing I missed. I don't know if it showed over here. I'm going to see. No, it did not. But further down at the bottom, one of the things that you want to make really, really sure that you check in, we talked about this in the Facebook advertising also, it's going to say set a daily limit or set a total budget. Be aware. If you set a $10 daily limit and you run it for a month, you're about to spend $310. So if you only want to spend $100, then just pick the total campaign. And it will choose, the way that it is it's called click CPC. So it tries to find the best time with the most people, and then it bids for that slot by whatever your budget is. Does that make sense? So you may pay 75 cents for a promoted tweet, or you might pay $1.25, just depending on what the competition is at that specific time with the same interest as you. I believe that's it, you guys. So do y'all have any specific questions?
So if you're budgeting like $100 a month for just your tweet advertising, it's going to bid on different times. Like my target audience would be anybody from the 7th grade to high school because that's the ones looking for dresses.
Right.
So
for you, you would want to advertise after 3 p.m.
Yes.
And like not past 10. You know. So yeah, it's going to choose those type of things because you would put in an age filter would be something that would be very important to you. And so it's going to automatically know that's when these people are online. So this is when I'm going to shoot these ads out. It's not going to, if you're targeting 7th through 12th graders, it's not going to put it out at 10:15 in the morning. Okay. You know, that would be very ineffective. Yep. Y'all have any other questions?
Do you recommend, when people follow you, do you recommend following everybody who follows you? Or
I do not.
Is it business, or would you just follow like maybe other, I don't know, vendors or something that you do business with? Or
that's a really good question. I don't follow everybody that follows WideNet back or Katie Cairo. Either way, I mean, if they're not, that's probably one of my favorite things about Twitter is that I don't have to follow you back. Feel free to follow me, you know, and I've actually had friends text me, like, your Twitter account got hacked. And I'm like, no, that's just me at work, you know, like, that's how I talk when I'm at work. This isn't Facebook. You know, if you're not going to be interested in what they're having to say, then you don't want them messing up your feed. But what you can do is follow other businesses that you compare yourself to so that you can see what is the competition doing? Is this successful? Is this something that I can do as well? And that's a really effective follow. But just following every person that comes in and decides to follow you, it just is almost like too noisy. You know. But I would say thanks for the follow. We really appreciate it. Can't wait to see you when you get back or something like that.
I agree completely. I was talking about those tools years ago, and there used to be this like auto follow back, auto direct message service. There's probably 100 of them at the time. And what I ended up doing, and actually why I'm not active on Twitter anymore, is because I auto followed back, and I ended up following 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people. So then I would open up my Twitter feed, and it's no different than a Facebook feed or anything else. I had 5,000 posts coming at me
the last 30
constantly,
minutes.
And none of them I cared about. None of which I cared about, and there was no way to undo that at that point in time other than unfollow, unfollow, unfollow. And I'm just not committed enough to click that button 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 times. There are services that'll help you do that, to clean up your list and to look for fake accounts or to remove spammy accounts or inactive accounts, but in the grand scheme of things, just follow the people you actually want to hear from.
Yeah.
And not the other way. Now, the caveat is, if I'm still correct, you cannot direct message
someone that you're not following.
You have to be connected.
So if you, like, a lot of people go to Twitter for customer service. I am one of those people. If I have a problem with your company, you're going to hear a tweet from me. I will not call you. I will not email you, but I will tweet you. You know, and a lot of times that's what they'll say. Can you follow us? And they follow me so that we can talk privately. So that's an appropriate way. But then a lot of times I go back in and immediately unfollow them, and probably vice versa. You know, and so like just kind of, you know, think about it a little bit. Is this really somebody that I want to be hearing from or not? You know, and even sometimes,
like you said, you got people who they, you know, I don't know the etiquette of, like, is it not, you know, you're not supposed to follow them since they're following you, but I'm thinking, you know, I'm getting a lot of people on my, like you said, on the feed, and it's, you know,
overwhelming.
So, yeah, I thought it may get that way.
Now, a really effective way to maybe kind of just organize that is something called lists. And it's a great tool with Twitter. You can organize the people that you do follow, and that way you can say, like, I have tech people, and then I have sci-fi dork people, you know, and then I have weird, quirky humor people, and then people I actually know. So for me, I go in and I look at those lists, and it's a very categorized newsfeed of exactly what I want to see. And so maybe that would be a way, like customers, people I know, competition, you know, inspiration. Kind of just categorize them down as lists.
And how do you do that?
When you go into your profile, let's see if I can just show you here. Where am I going here? Lists. So when you log in, you just go straight up to this little wheel right here and go to lists. And you can just create a new one or add to another one. We do not use it at WideNet, but I do not follow people that I'm not interested in for WideNet either. So, and also that's the other thing, another answer to that question is just because you know someone in person doesn't mean that you do necessarily want to follow them on Twitter. Because I have a lot of people complain to me when they follow me on Twitter, and it's like, why did you just live tweet a really bad sci-fi movie for the last 2.5 hours? You blew up my feed. And I'm like, you should probably not follow me because I do that every Saturday night, you know. So you don't always want to connect with people that you know, make sure that there's something that you want to get from them. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Well, like with his business, and you know, when you're in business, people that are following like my shop, are they going to see everything that I put out there, or that are they going to see everything that everybody else has put out there?
Yes,
okay.
They are. The only way for you to not see a tweet is if you start the tweet with the @ symbol. Like if you wanted to tweet me, thanks for coming in today, you would start @Katie Cairo. Thanks so much for visiting the shop today. We really appreciate your business. It would just go to me. It wouldn't go to your followers. It wouldn't go to my followers. I would see it. But if you were to put, really appreciate you coming in @Katie Cairo, everybody would see it. So just a little bit of a difference there. And I didn't even talk about that, but that's a big faux pas. If you're going to speak to someone, say it naturally. You know, like don't start it with an @ symbol. The only way to avoid it just going to that person is to put a period in front of the @ symbol. But just think about restructuring the sentence to where it flows a little bit nicer, where the @ symbol and that person's name is more in the middle of the sentence. Like that last example.
Okay, and this is going to sound really dumb, but I don't know anything about Twitter, so do you put hashtag at the end of everything that you're doing?
That's unnecessary as well. If the word that you want to hashtag is in the middle of your sentence, just go ahead and hashtag it there. Now, if you're trying to, that's where it gets really, really kind of tricky. Like with let's talk about that Kmart tweet specifically. So they hashtagged a couple of other things in the back of it to try and pull in those trending topics. And if they would have left off that Fab 15 toys, it would have been appropriate because they would have had the correct hashtag so that it would have been searchable and still relevant. So really the only rule of thumb is try and kind of keep it, 3 or less. You don't want to get hashtag crazy because that's almost as annoying as, the wrong hashtag. So,
Can I ask this? Does anybody not know the point of a hashtag?
Can you go a little bit more into detail? Because I know that you can you know, maybe say, okay, what are people saying about this, but you don't know exactly how they hashtagged it.
I'll let you go into
your
more
own
detail.
hashtags, and you're wondering, you know,
This
who else
is-
has that, is using that hashtag for something different, or when you see 3 hashtags in the same tweet, are they all connected?
Mhm.
or-
Not necessarily. Like, you know, getting slizzard. I might use that hashtag, but then I also might use another hashtag about, like, you know, bottling beer or something like that. You know, and while they're not necessarily related, one was just for silly purposes, and one was because I want to talk to other people that are bottling beer. You see what I'm saying?
They call them quick communities, right?
Kind
Something
of,
like that, like a
or graph
micro-
searches is a really good way. Essentially, if you hashtag something, it makes it searchable. It makes you're able then to look for that specific phrase because the hashtag connects it. Now, yes, other people will already be using the hashtag. The easiest way to do that is to come up here and say, is anybody using hashtag opportunity? And what are they using it for? Is it going to be okay if I use it? When was the last time? Oh, they used it 4 minutes ago. Probably don't want to use
And there
that
are sites to do hashtag research on and whatnot. But a great example was we went to, well, hey, this
Yep.
actually, just remembered I had the shirt on. So this was the Digital Summit over in Atlanta, and the entire time, myself, Katie, and Tanya were over there. We're taking pictures, we're posting on Twitter, we're posting on Facebook, we're posting on Instagram, and the hashtag for the summit for that event was hashtag DSUM14, so DSUM14. And
You can kind of see
What
how
were-
people used it.
yeah, what we were able to do was kind of create a mini community at that moment. It's like a pop in and out. And then when that event was over, nobody really used that again unless they were posting
Spam.
after the event
Or they were
or
spammers.
just spamming. But the thing is, you can go on any of this and you see how she searched it, but also in Instagram is a great example. You see those hashtags, you can just touch them, click them, and then every picture that has that hashtag will come up. So that's how we were able to see all
Yeah.
the pictures from
This is
DSUM or tweets from
Anniston
DSUM.
is a current hashtag. You know, the city of Anniston has asked anyone that takes pictures around Anniston to tag it with "this is Anniston," and then they use all those pictures to kind of showcase Anniston. So that's a really effective way. Or like WideNet U, that's a really effective way for us to see what's happening. You know, now WideNet, very ineffective hashtag because most people are talking about dating and casting the wide net, you know. So that's where it kind of comes down to make sure you research, just check it out, see if anybody else is already using that hashtag, run that through, and then, you know, make sure that it's relevant.
And the general rule of thumb is all lowercase, no spaces at all.
No spaces.
And it's okay if it runs together, like we have
No
tweet like a
dashes.
boss. Or
No dashes.
I'm
Numbers
really
are
hungry
okay.
right now.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't
I
matter.
mean,
You can do whatever you want.
winning. You know, hashtag winning. I use that one all the time because that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. You know, and how can I not continue to talk about it? Never let that one die. But you know, so it's like both. It's kind of a humor thing, and it's a really effective way to create this community and or create a searchable conversation.
So a lot of times, though, those hashtags are very time specific. Like you might be watching HBO and it'll say, you know, have a conversation
Game of
following
Thrones. Yes.
the show, and then like you said, after that, then no one's really on that anymore.
Mhm.
Whereas like with Instagram, it's not really time sensitive at all.
It can be if it's an event
Yeah,
or
I think
something like that.
And I think that's just like that's kind of where hashtags do get so confusing because they're both time oriented, they're conversation oriented, and then there's just timeless ones, you know, because a lot of you have a lot more. I like how this is a terrible term, but trolls on Twitter, people that don't actually participate in the conversations, but they're there. So they might go back and read that Game of Thrones conversation, but yet they don't actually want to have the conversation. It's kind of like that person that has to raise their hand first in class. Some people just don't want to raise their hand ever. You know, they just like to sit and hang out. So,
Okay, so that's like a stalker, though, right?
yeah, a little bit like face stalking. It very much so is.
But my son talks about trolls all the time, and he's 19, and I thought that was like people who put like just ugly things just to be ugly or negative or nasty.
It can be that term too. That's
Okay.
what I just call it because I'm like, just say something, you know, just stop, just say something, you know. But yes, it is. Trolls can also be someone who I don't know if you got, I used to do a lot of like message boards, you know, back before Twitter, where I would have conversations with people, and you would have that person that just want to come in and argue. Like my dad is that person. He goes into, he's a huge Auburn fan. He goes into Alabama sites and hacks their conversation. You know, sometimes he comes in as an Alabama fan and acts really stupid, or sometimes he comes in as an Auburn fan and just picks a fight. So yeah, you know, it's both. It's both ways. And catfishing, you know, that's the other term. Like Chick-fil-A, actually, they had a really, really terrible crisis, and the way they tried to fix it was to create fake profiles and come in and talk good about themselves. Big faux pas. You know, like if something blows up in your face, just let it. It will pass. You know, deal with it as politely and calmly as you possibly can, just like you would if they were standing in front of you, and just let it. It will go away. You know, so don't try and fix it by catfishing or, you know, deleting it or anything like that, because it's just going to make it a whole lot worse.
All right, it's one.
Yep. Well,
Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Have there been any lawsuits on Twitter?
Yes, there have been lawsuits on Twitter.
Okay. How were they resolved?
You know, I don't really know. I mean, some are bad, some are good. I think it just kind of comes down to like, oh, what was the one I was trying to think of? I can't. I had an example, but I can't think of it. But a lot of it comes down to rights of photos. That's probably what the biggest one is. So just make sure that if you're doing something that you have the right to do it. You know, that you either have the permission. Yeah, permission. Like if you use someone's picture, make sure you have a waiver signed out. You know, or if you buy a graphic, make sure you buy the graphic and you don't just steal it and use it.
Okay, so like I take pictures, you know, we ask the girls, can we take a picture of you in your dress? And they say yes. Am I supposed to get them to sign a waiver before I post? Even if I tell them I'm going to post?
I'm not a lawyer,
Okay.
but I would recommend that you get a waiver, especially if they're underage. And that might not even be enough. It might have to have a parental guardian. I'm not sure. But I always recommend if you're going to use people's personal story, picture, video, get a waiver. I mean, it might not hold up, but what's it going to hurt? You know, it's better to be safe than sorry. Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, I think unless y'all have any more questions, I think that's it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And you're going to send us all this information on our email?